Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Unit 234, starring Jack Huston and Don Johnson, in a movie about a storage unit that contains a terrible secret. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Heart in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 15. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So Don Johnson shows up to this storage unit place looking for Unit 234. When the woman who runs the place tries to get some ID, he gets antsy and ends up leaving for some reason, to get ID or whatever. She goes to check on 234 and finds a body, and then examines the body, and the guy's alive. So then it turns into a game of cat and mouse in the storage facility, because the guy in the unit says he was set up by Don Johnson, but Don Johnson has some other plans. I'm not sure what. Directed by Andy Tennant. I suspect this guy was put in a storage locker and drugged because they're going to steal his organs to save someone. Probably close to Don Johnson, I'm guessing. Either that, or he is some sort of... The guy in the unit is maybe a criminal, or at least that's what he tells people. But I kind of think Don Johnson is the bad guy in this one. Unit 234, The Lockup. It sounds like a prison movie. I don't think they needed the lockup in the title there. So, September 30th, yours to own. Slow down. Written by Derek Steiner and directed by Andy Tennant. So Don Johnson, Isabella Furman, who I think is the woman, Jack Huston, who I think is the guy in the unit, I would guess, and the rest are just there. Maybe, yeah. I'm kind of digging the premise. So the first act, it sort of establishes the woman. She's working at this storage unit place. It's kind of not what she wants out of her life, and I don't know. She's talking to her friend on a headset. I think he works in a different division. I used to work in one of these places, actually, and so they have divisions that are storage units, and then other divisions where it's storage units and rentals that are like, the rentals, the rental cars and trucks and whatnot. Those are like bigger places where maybe you could move up the corporate hierarchy, and maybe that's what they're discussing in the beginning of the movie. You got to get out of that place. Although he suggests to her to sell it, which would suggest she owns it, which means her financial situation might be a little better than who knows. Anyhow, Don Johnson comes in trying to get into this unit, but he got the wrong key or something, and or maybe he never had access to the key for whatever reason, because of the nefarious stuff going on that's revealed later. But anyhow, she questions him, and he loses his cool. Now that moment is sort of like a dead giveaway. Don Johnson's the bad guy, or it may be a red herring that the screenwriter put in there to throw you off the scent when he does a reversal later in the movie. So it's kind of hard to tell. Hey, how you doing? It's kind of hard to tell. I think it's not a reversal, but if it was a reversal, that would be brilliant. Like, really, Don Johnson is not totally the bad guy in this, and maybe this guy's kind of a scumbag, and they were gonna kill him, but he just kind of deserves it, or maybe they were gonna transfer him to a prison, secret prison somewhere. I don't know. He's a terrorist, maybe. I don't think so, though. But what ends up happening, she goes in, explores the unit, finds the guy, and then the lights go out, and then they end up trying to avoid Don Johnson and his goons. So the second act is the cat and mouse in the storage facility. They're trying to find these two. They're trying to escape. For some reason, she had and you have these at storage facilities, so it makes sense. You have a device that allows you to cut off locks. She cuts his handcuff off, which allows him to escape. But that same device can be used to cut a fence. So if they went to the furthest point away from Don Johnson in the storage facility and got to the fence, and these places are often surrounded by a pretty decent fence, they could cut their way out of the fence and escape. And I think it would be hard for Don Johnson to find her. But for whatever reason, they don't do that. You know, that would end the movie pretty quickly. But so the second act is them trapped in the storage facility, trying to get out, going back and forth. Eventually there's a scene, and this happens too. So the guy who wrote the screenplay did some research. They go into a storage unit that has a truck in it and steal the truck. Now you might say, why do people put vehicles in the storage facility? A lot of times, if someone is in a car accident and it's a hit and run and they manage to get away, sometimes what they'll do, and this, again, I worked in one of these places, they will buy a storage unit, hide their car, and then secretly fix it inside the storage unit before they start driving it again. So it may be that situation, which, again, good on the screenwriter. So what's the ending to this thing? Well, I think it's going to be revealed that Don Johnson was harvesting the organs of this guy in order to save his daughter or possibly himself, and that this guy owes money or what. I don't think this guy is totally clean, and I think it's something to do with organ harvesting. But they were going to have to kill him. So in the end, I think nobody's good except the woman running the storage facility, and in the end, she survives. But I don't know. It could just be that they're trying to kill this dude, and then they obfuscate a little bit throughout the second act, but then he's the good guy. I don't know. Let's see if we got a description here. After the shocking discovery of an unconscious man in a locked unit, the lone employee of a remote storage facility must fight to survive the night against a ruthless gang dead set on retrieving their precious cargo at any cost. Okay, so they're being a little vague about it. Let's go to the IMDb. I think it'll probably be the same explanation. So, yeah, it's the same exact explanation. So, what is the cargo is the question. I think it's him. I think it's him and his organs. I think that's the only logical explanation. Unless he is, again, like a gang, like from a rival gang, and maybe they're ransoming him to another gang. I don't know. Would I see it? I think I would. Yeah, I think I would give it a chance, at the very least. Now, Don Johnson seems to have entered his phase where he's an older actor, and a lot of guys now do this. They get older, they're doing B movies where they're the villain, right? And the reason that tends to be the case is, first off, you need your most talented actor in the villain slot. Or at least your most experienced guy. And Don Johnson, not the greatest actor in the world, but he's solid. He's solid for what he does. Like, he doesn't have a huge range, but he can deliver lines, he can emote. And he's a name. The rest of the guys aren't much of a name. So, by putting him in the movie, he can do a bunch of scenes. He can be a major part of the movie. And it's kind of like the biggest part with the least amount of work, right? See, the hero of the movie, the lead, often has the most work, right? They often got to get physical and do things and have various scenes where they're escaping and emoting and all this other stuff. The villains, for the most part, they just have to be convincing and evil. And, but they have a limited number of scenes. The movie's not about the villain. But the villain has to be good, and a villain is a major part of it. And then they have to die at the end or whatever. go to jail. So I think Don Johnson has entered that phase where you may see him in roles like this. You see this with other actors like Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis towards the end before he left the industry, and a few others in that age range. They're old enough to command a presence, but not too old that they look frail. So even John Cusack did that in one movie. He was the lead bad guy. So interesting. He's finally entered that phase of his career. We'll see if we see him in anything else. But yeah, it doesn't look like a bad premise. I will say too that part of the problem with this sort of dynamic is the villain can overshadow the hero. And in this trailer, I think the hero, the woman who runs the storage facility, she's a bit overshadowed by Don Johnson and the rest of the cast. But that could work in her favor in the plot, but she may be forgettable as a lead. But that may make it a good movie. So, Unit 234, The Lockdown. Again, I don't think you needed that part. And maybe I would check this out, probably on streaming. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Check us out on the green site, the orange site, and the black site, where the other videos live. And we do 4 videos a day. The other 2 are over there. Tomorrow, I will be, where am I going? I'm going to the Sayreville Historical Society for the 6 p.m. meet and greet, and then my talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil. Then on Friday, I will be at the Farmers and Bankers Brewery in Woodstown, New Jersey, for my talk at 5:30. And then on Saturday, a big day, it's the Heritage Festival at Albert Hall from 12 to 5. If it gets rained out, it'll be Sunday, but the weather's looking good. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.